Good morning. This is the Citrus County Planning and Development Commission public hearing for December 1st, 2022. If you'd like to join us at this time, I invite you to please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Lord, please give us the grace to be understanding, patient, and tolerant. With these attributes, we can conduct our work in a manner which will be pleasing to Thee and our county and its residents. In the Lord's name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could have the roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
The following Planning and Development Commission members are present this morning. Robert Bass, Chair. Stacy Worthington, First Vice Chair. James Royce, Second Vice Chair. Richard Barnes, David Bramblett, Michael Facemeyer, Kurt Stone, and School Board Representative Chuck Dixon.
Thank you. If any person decides to appeal any decision made by the Commission with respect to any matter considered at this hearing, he or she will need a record of the proceedings, and for such purpose, he or she may need to ensure that a verbatim record of the proceedings is made, which record includes testimony and evidence upon which the appeal is to be made. During public input portions of the meeting, individuals are given 3 minutes, representatives of an organization are given 5 minutes. When anyone wishing to speak comes to the podium, please complete a yellow form to hand to the recording secretary. Please print your name, address, and the number of the application for which you are speaking on the form. The yellow forms can be found at the podium by the door. If represented in an organization, a letter of authorization must accompany the speaker. Comments will be limited to the topic being heard. Please state your name, spell your last name, and give your address for the tape record. At this time, it's an opportunity for the public to come forward and address the Commission on any issues that you may wish. As long as it's not related to anything that's on the agenda. The young lady.
Good morning, committee. My name's Thomas Nielsen. How we doing today? Hope everybody's doing fine. I'm just want to talk about something real quick. I got 3 minutes here, so I'm going to speak. I live at 5519 West Rachel Lane in Homosassa. There is going to be a 147.5 acre development going on there. My backyard is going to face this that's going to be built. We've been part of that property there since 1983. Me and my wife, my father-in-law and mother-in-law bought it in 83. I bought another plot of land, just sold it to my brother recently a year and a half ago. My whole ordeal was to retire down here, which I did. I live there now. I am part owner along with my wife with the property we live on at 5519 West Rachel Lane. This development that is going to be going on over there is going to be atrocious to what's going on out there. You know, anybody goes down Cardinal Lane and sees what goes on Cardinal Lane. We live right off of Cardinal in Greengate on Rachel. To get out onto that lane of Cardinal is going to be critical for everybody. This 147.5 acres that they want to propose and put 434 multifamily homes and multifamily condos or whatever they want to put out there, which is going to be 5.6 or 5.8 homes per acre. My backyard, since 1983, I'm able to watch the cows. I could look at the bulls. I've pet them cows that have been back there. My porch, I could look in that big field that's out there. I love living there. My wife loves living there. My brother moved down here. We got other people that are going to border that back. We got 16 other properties that are going to border it, that we all are pretty close knit with each other and know each other there. For them to come in there and build 800 homes in 147.5 acres, not just that though, but a 200-room hotel that is proposed to go onto that property too. How can you guys or your committee agree and allow them to do that? I'm just curious about that. I really love where I live. I love Citrus County. Citrus County's been great, and it's a great, close-knit community that's there. It's just, for this to be built on at this time when there's so many other places that are more open, you know, we're gonna need widening of the roads. We're gonna need stoplights. You know, school buses go right down Cardinal. When that gateway was put in, or that new addition to Cardinal to catch the freeway, watch them semis come down there. You know, we got school buses that park on Cardinal there that pick kids up. One day, trust me, it's gonna happen, and God forbid when it happens, I hope you guys can live and sleep at nighttime knowing that you were part of the issue that went on, if you go agree and give this to these people. Thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it. I'm sorry I took too long.
And Mr. Chair, if I could address just quickly.
Thank
He
you.
was talking about the Cardinal Farms application, which this board has not heard. They were withdrawn before they came to public hearing, so they don't really know what you're talking about at this point. So because the application has been withdrawn at this time.
Correct.
So they have nothing to do with it,
Right.
unless they read it in the newspaper too, but they haven't
Right.
seen
Well,
it. So
I'm sure they know about it because it's been on
It
this
was in-
before.
it was in
This
the
public
newspaper,
comment-
correct.
It's for public
yeah,
comments. I just
absolutely
didn't-
not that.
Okay.
Just explaining to them what you're
Okay.
hearing about.
Thank you so much for listening to me. I
Yep.
appreciate it.
Anyone else? Okay. At this time, meeting minutes. We have minutes from October 20th and November 3rd.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the minutes of October 3rd, 2020, October 20th, 2022, and November 3rd, 2022 as submitted.
Do we have a s-
Second.
Okay. Any comments or corrections? I have one. On page 2 of the October 2022 minutes, under the section applicant, the third to last line, you have the apostrophe in the incorrect location. It should be T''S.
Correct? Thank you.
With that change, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Ex parte communications from staff announcements.
And you said you wouldn't steal my thunder.
I didn't steal your thunder.
Yes, you did. All right, the county attorney is not here. I will have some staff announcements at the end of the meeting if you can just stick around when we're done for just a little bit. But yeah, the county attorney is not here. So in her absence, I'll ask if any board member has any ex parte communication on CU 2113, and we'll start with Mr. Dixon.
None, thanks.
Site visit.
Site visit.
None.
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 Site visit?
Thank you.
Thank you. If we could have a introduction by our staff, please.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
This conditional use is to allow for an educational facility in the LDR and MDR district. Here we have an aerial view. This is looking west on West Grover Cleveland Boulevard. Here we're looking east on West Grover Cleveland Boulevard. This is looking at the subject property. And here's the master plan as submitted by the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you. If the applicant is present.
Hi, I'm Natasha Griffin, and that's Griffin, and I'm the superintendent of Esther Schools. And I wanted to say first, thank you for taking time to consider our proposal and our application. Anyway, so this is Esther School. We were here a couple months ago and got an extension, and we would like to get a conditional use application to have our K through 12th school at the Grover Cleveland location. And I spoke about Esther School, but we are a private school, private Christian school for K through 12 students, but we do specialize with students with special needs. We have 8 different campuses throughout Florida. This would be our first Citrus County campus. And do I control the slide?
You can.
Oh, okay. Okay, so this is just a little picture. Our mission statement is to strive to educate all students, both typical and those with special needs, in academic excellence, biblical principles, and integrity to develop the whole child intellectually, emotionally, socially, physically, and spiritually in a safe and loving environment. This school does strive for cultural diversity and inclusion for all students. And the one thing that we are known for is that we work with a child individually with individualized education plans, and we look at each child and we decide what curriculum would work best for them instead of trying to make the student work with the curriculum that is offered. So we have great success. We've seen great graduation rates for those students who never really were thought to have that opportunity. So we're very grateful and we're very proud of the success we've had with our students. So our proposed findings, Esther School will be able to meet the Citrus County Land Development Code's objective criteria. We will demonstrate the LDC standards for small non-residential development at the time of permitting with some deviations. We will be compatible with the facade standards. The modular building has hardy board siding. We will be compatible with parking lot landscaping by adding 400 square feet of required landscaping for every 10 parking spaces. We will either construct a raised separator on the current driveway apron to allow for the right turn in and out only, or move the driveway to allow for full access if approved by engineering. So we have submitted that plan. I think you've seen it, and we've talked to engineering, and we'd like to go ahead and move the driveway where there is that ability to make a left-hand turn, which would really, I think, solve the issue with the traffic in that right-hand turn lane that some of our neighbors had concerns about, as well as the board. So this was, and excuse my drawings, we are a nonprofit organization, and until we get the conditional use approval, we then are going to go see an engineer and have those plans created. But we want to make sure that we can move forward with this project. But that's what our proposed plan is. So we would be on the opening and have the ability to make those turns in and out of the driveway on a left-hand turn basis and a left-hand turn in basis. And as you can see, this will allow full access for both left and right-hand turns in and out of the parking lot. I would like to also let you know that we own the parcels surrounding the proposed site plan for the conditional use application. The school property will have a buffer between it and the neighbors. Out of over 8 acres of land, the school will occupy only 1.9 acres. Our school population will be small, maxing out at approximately 90 students. We do provide transportation in 15 passenger vans, not traditional school buses. And this will reduce the amount of traffic flow immensely. And our school day is 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. And when I say 3:30, school ends at 3 o'clock, but we always give that window of time for parents to pick up if they are picking up. And the school will only be in session from August until May. And I thank you. We really do look forward to serving Homosassa and Citrus County. And I will let you know that we have had a lot of inquiries and a lot of excitement and support from families with special needs children about our school coming in. So again, thank you for your consideration, and if you have any questions.
Any questions from staff?
Thank you for being patient and coming back and resolving the traffic situation.
Thank you.
There are 7 proposed conditions in the staff report. Do you have any concerns with those conditions?
No.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Yep. Any questions from, excuse me, hang on just a second.
Oh, not quite done yet.
Any questions from the commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Worthington.
Your slide showed that you are going to provide the parking lot landscaping. So the only deviation that you're requesting now is the facade for the existing building.
So I don't think we need that deviation anymore because I thought it was a metal building. It's not. It's hardy board, so it will meet the requirements. Is that correct? Or is that? Oh, the existing building. Okay. Yes, just the deviation for the existing building.
And the staff report remarks about should the applicant want to have school zone sign improvements installed, and then what the procedures would be. Is that something your school will pursue?
We can look into it. At our other locations, because we are a small private school, we haven't really necessarily had the need to do that in the past. So I would say I would definitely take the recommendation of the board, but it's not something that we're absolutely going to pursue.
Okay, and you said that approximately 90 students?
Yes.
Okay. And on your hours of operation, there was some inconsistency. Is it 8:30 to 3:30 or 8 to 4? Or?
I apologize for our school, our staff come from 8 to 4 o'clock. So we will have people at the campus from 8 to 4, but that would be just our, teachers coming to open up, the principal coming to staff, but students will be on campus from 8:30 to 3:30.
And are there any extracurricular activities, any evening type events or anything like that?
So because of our student population, we don't have like extracurricular sports activities. We don't do before and after care. And we may have an occasional parent-teacher night that might extend a little later, but not farther than 6 o'clock. We may have a Christmas production, an end-of-the-year kind of concert, but it would be very few, less than 5, after those hours.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I have one question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
You did a pretty good job freehand redesigning your driveway.
But
Thank you. If this is approved and you hire an engineer, would you design it and build it? And I'm going to lean on Commissioner Stone for the right phrase, terminology, in generally accepted engineering practices.
Absolutely, yes.
Is that the right term?
That's good.
Okay, good enough.
Yes.
We understand.
So basically, that was just an idea. And again, we just want to be able to make a left-hand turn out too. So that's important to us as well. So once we receive the conditional use application approval, then we'll go meet with the engineer and of course meet all of the standards that are required with the engineering company to make sure that we're doing everything correctly.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commissioners? I was just curious as to how many teachers are on site during the course of the day?
So for teachers, it would depend on the population. And because, when we start, it could be one teacher and one principal. But with 90 students, it would be approximately probably about 4 to 5 teachers would be on staff.
So you'd have 5 plus to the principal, or?
Yes.
Okay. And then looking at the plan, it looks like there's going to be 4 rooms for teaching.
So what part are you looking at? I'm sorry.
Looking at your layout of the building, as far as you have looks like 2 rooms in the back and 2 rooms in the front of the facility on what was provided to us. It was this drawing right here.
Okay. It's actually 2 classrooms, correct? Right. So we when we started this process last year, we thought it may take us longer to renovate the existing building than being able to bring in the modular unit and get school started sooner than later. Because of COVID, we've noticed with some other projects that we've done that getting construction materials and other things were very delayed. So that is a modular unit. It's actually set up for 2 classrooms. So I don't have that in front of me, but and then we're going to be, when we get to that point, we're going to go ahead and do permitting to remodel the inside of the existing building that's on the property.
Okay. And when you remodel that building, how many classrooms will that have, do you think?
Well, with 90 students, we need a minimum of 4 classrooms. So if we have the modular unit with 2 classrooms, I would say 2 additional classrooms in the existing building. We always have a meeting area for lunch and for, bringing the students together for assembly in the morning. So that would probably be an office, a meeting area for our teachers, and then 2 classrooms with an open area for congregation. So.
Okay, so when you open with only 2 classrooms, will you have that entire K through 12 student population, or will you have it reduced because of having only 2 classrooms?
So it would be reduced, and I will let you know that it takes time for us to grow a population. So I would say that we will start with what we have. You know, we're going to do advertising, try to get students in. We've applied with DOE, but we'll have to go through that process of getting the approval through the Department of Education, which also takes time. So we're not going to, well, I shouldn't say that. I want to speak positively that we'll have students who want to come in, but we'll start with a small population. It may be 6 students. It may just be 1 principal and 1 teacher as we grow. So when I spoke with the parking and everything else, but again, I don't foresee having that full population year 1. Absolutely. I would hope by year 3 we would be at our maximum population, but that would be our goal.
And then earlier you indicated to Commissioner Worthington that you do have some evening activities once in a while. I think you said 5, up to 5 a year, like some
Yes.
concerts or something. How many attendees do you expect, and how many cars do you expect? Because you only have, I think it was 20 parking spaces. So how would you handle?
The overflow?
Yes.
That's a great question, and we would have to look into that. But I would say with 90 students, unfortunately, parents don't always participate in activities. So we're really feel like we get a good turnout if 50% of the parents come, and that would bring us down to 45. However, we found in our other campuses that we have students with we have families with multiple students. So one family could speak for 3 students or 2 students. And so, you know, we do have grassy area. We have other areas on the property that we're not using. If it would be allowed for us to do grass parking, if the board approves. If it's not, then it's something that we'll have to consider. So, but there is plenty of grassy area on our property.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah,
Yes,
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 sir.
Commissioner Royce.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Royce.
The eastern lot that you're going to be using to alleviate the right in, right out situation, are you going to be using that lot for anything else other than that right of way for the?
Just the right of way.
That's it.
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Barnes.
Yeah, can you excuse me, can you tell me how you're going to light the parking lot, since you're going to have after-hour events?
Okay.
That's not
There
addressed in
there is some lighting on the parking lot, existing lighting now. And again, once we get our approval and we work with the engineer, and if there's required additional lighting for outside, we'll do what we have to do. So I haven't really thought about that, but there is some existing outside parking lot lighting.
Thank you.
Mr. Bramlett. Mr. Stone. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Miranda.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just really want to quickly address the temporary events. They do need to get a permit for temporary events, so we look at parking and trash and everything at that time. So this approval would be for their normal operations, and then they can get a temporary event permit through residential permitting.
Thank you.
All right. So this request is for a private school in the LDR and MDR district. This application came before you on July 21st. The subject property comprises of 5 lots. The last time it came before you was only the 4. So now it totals 2.2 acres. The surrounding area does have residential. There's a landfill to the south, and there's also power lines on the west. It is in the PSA, so it will need to be connected to central utilities when available. There is an existing building, approximately 3,100 square feet in size, and an associated parking lot. It was previously used by the Salvation Army. The applicant proposes a modular classroom and playground area in this general area. Here's more photos of the existing building that will also be used for classrooms. And there is some existing vegetation along the property lines. So this is looking west on Grover Cleveland, and then looking east. And this is another photo looking east. The applicant has stated that they're proposing the driveway apron across from the landfill's driveway apron. This was the previous master plan that you saw at the last hearing. And this is the proposed master plan. The biggest change, the major change being the proposed driveway apron. Engineering has retracted their comments about the right-in, right-only access and states that they'll need to demonstrate that the new driveway apron can meet LDC requirements. This new plan also corrected the property lines. The master plan does not have parking lot landscaping, but the applicant has indicated they would meet this at time of permitting. And the applicant has also stated the modular building will meet facade requirements. Staff does support the deviation for facade pertaining to the existing building. And lastly, type C is required to the northeast and west, and then a type A along the roadway. And some of the conditions were either removed or revised from the last hearing.
Okay. Any questions from the commissioners?
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
Morning, Miranda.
Good morning.
Typically, a condition for approval would be, that, they have to meet the site plan as submitted, date stamped, blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
That is not a condition here. Is there a reason for that? My concern is, I'll just tell you, it says additional parking may need to be installed at the time of permitting depending on student population. It seems like the applicant is saying there's a max of 90 and the spaces that are being required are to meet that 90. But if for any, we're not planning for, there could be additional students in the future. So I'd like to have something that says, that if approved, it's based on this application. And if they, try to do any expansion or anything like that, they have to come back before someone.
Okay, condition number 1 does say that as outlined on the master plan, date stamped. Is that what you're pertaining to?
I didn't see it then, I guess. I'm sorry.
Okay, and then I think you were also talking about condition, let's see.
5.
Got my pages mixed up here.
And condition 5 talks about additional parking. And just to address what you're saying is, the condition number 1 is worded as the use with the application, but it's not. I don't think it was meant to try to limit them to 90 students. So if you want to do that, we absolutely can say that. We didn't really want, if we can help it, come back before you again for 95 students or 100 students, as long as they comply with the correct parking area. But we can put that in there if that's what the board wants.
Also, I guess I'm not thinking about 5 additional students. I'm
Right.
thinking about
I understand it. So you're thinking that, you don't want the entire thing to look like, yes, I get that.
if it goes to 120 and we
I
have
see.
24 parking spaces.
Right, they would have to upgrade their parking for it, and you'd want to see it. So we can put a cap if that's what you want to do on that.
Any other comments?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Miranda, on this page here, Miranda,
Yes.
on this page here, this drawing, it shows that there's a road there. What is that?
Is that the previous plan or this plan on the
It
slide?
shows a road at the property line.
Oh,
between
okay,
the
yes.
eastern
Okay.
lot and yeah, right there.
So there is an access along there. Let me go to the aerial. It might show that a bit better.
It's there as well.
Yes. So that access is not paved, and it was part of the unrecorded subdivision, but it hasn't been used, and the applicant's site plan is outside of that, so it doesn't
Well,
interfere.
it used to be outside of it, but now the new access is crossing that road.
It's an access easement from the unrecorded, so they're using it for access.
Okay.
So we really couldn't find a lot of documentation to support this. We
We
killed
tried.
ourselves in the records and couldn't find it. So it's an old remnant on one piece of paper. It seems to be it's for access. It's being used for access. She's not putting any improvements in there. So that was okay.
I have another question regarding that. If this is granted, what happens? Do those lots become enjoined? I mean, what happens with once that new access is from the next lot?
Right. The lots still stay the same. She's not proposing to reconfigure them or anything like that. If she did, the conditional use could be affected because the conditional use is for these lots as is. So although it doesn't really change anything, what you're doing is the use on these particular lots,
Okay, but you're having access from another lot.
which they also own, which is part of the development.
What if they sell that lot?
The conditional use goes away. They need that for access purposes.
So they can't sell the lot.
Well, they can sell it, but it still needs to be part of the use. So
They can, but the use goes
the
away.
use has to, right, she could have 5 shareholders and each one owns one lot. As long as it's still Esther School, that will work. But if they sell it off to somebody who wants to put a house there or something, this thing
Null and
goes
void.
away. The CU's over because it is on these lots for this use.
Okay, so what happens to the school if they sell the lot? They don't have access to their lot. They
Right,
can't
the
be
school
landlocked.
can't continue. The conditional use is null and void. So it's done.
So if there's any change at all from what we're approving today,
Mostly, I say mostly only because they could combine the lots if they want to. Right now there's five lots, something like that. They can combine them if they want to and still meet the criteria with the conditional use. But if they pull one out that's part of the conditional use, that's a problem.
or if they decide to build something on there that was not school related.
Right. Well, you're approving this.
Okay.
And the way it is, we talked about the number of students. If they want to put a big storage shed or another modular building, y'all have to see it again because of the land use.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Miranda.
Thank you.
Okay. The public portion of the meeting will now be open. If there is anyone present in favor of the application who would like to speak, please come forward to the podium. As a reminder, individuals have 3 minutes to speak and organizations have 5 minutes. When speaking on this application, please address the board. If you have any documentation that you want to be entered into the record, please provide a copy to the recording secretary. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Seeing none, is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone wishing to speak in? Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, guys and ladies. So for the last meeting, Miss Griffin was encouraged to meet with the opposing neighbors. You've seen me here before. For the potential school location to see if anything could be settled and agreed upon, have us all in agreement. We met with her and we still did not agree that this location and plan was in the school's best interest. I'm not sure why the original church decided to deem this commercial property and put it a commercial building in a residential area, but history has shown that this location has not been a permanently appropriate area for any commercial business. This property has sat vacant for the last 6 to 7 years, with some people interested in it, but ultimately dismissing the property due to lack of land use, traffic concerns, and a poor commercial location. It was previously mentioned that there are other commercial uses in the surrounding residential areas, and I can't find any, besides the land debris company directly south of this proposed location. I have found that there is not any other commercial business in the vicinity for almost a mile to the northeast and 3 miles to the west. This revised plan to move the driveway 80 feet to the east, in my opinion, is not going to benefit traffic. Wouldn't a temporarily stopped vehicle sitting in the open median intersection directly in front of a debris company's entrance, waiting to turn into the new proposed driveway cause traffic congestion? Hopefully nobody gets rear-ended or there aren't any types of collisions if the eastbound or westbound drivers don't see a car turning into this proposed driveway with no specified turn lanes, traffic warnings for either direction. My house personally sits a little over 75 feet away from the center line of the roadway, and I feel sometimes that it's too close to the road. And I understand that safety protocols are taken seriously, especially with children, but I still believe this is not the appropriate location for an educational facility or any other commercial business to be ran out of. Thank you.
Could you give us your name for the record, please?
Allison Grimmeroth.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Randy Messer. I'm the Regional Landfill Manager for Waste Pro. Would it be possible to get the one picture where it shows our driveways across from each other back on? It's the one that Natasha used.
It's on the site plan too. Great. No, next one.
While you're looking, no, it's a regular picture. It was used for her presentation. Do you have access to that?
She's pulling it up.
While we're sitting here, I want to applaud Natasha's effort to do this. I think it's a wonderful offering for Citrus County. I'm sure it's definitely needed. I'm just not sure if this is the right place, and that'll be up to you guys. As you can see, our driveway on the south side of River Cleveland is less than 200 feet away. I pulled our transaction report for November. We had 1,593 customers come through. That's 80 a day. And you got to remember, those are tractor trailers, heavy dump trucks hauling 20 tons. We are not open on Saturday. Our majority of our traffic is between 8 to 4. So there's a lot of traffic that's going on through there, and the size of the vehicles, we have a lot of tractors and trailers that come in our place. I'm just not sure if it's going to be a very safe situation. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing none, does the applicant wish to make any rebuttal comments to the presenters?
Thank you very much. I'm Natasha Griffin once again. I understand their concerns, and I just wanted to reiterate that our students normally don't drive, and most of the activity of anybody coming into the school between those hours of 8 to 8:30 for drop-off time, and that's basically, and from 3 to 3:30. So we're not on the road very often. We will fence the property, including a fence over the driveway that will remain locked during school hours. We take safety for our students extremely, it's our number one concern. So we would do a lot of different safety features, but we have found that in other locations, we've had tractor trailers. In one of our campuses, we're in an industrial area, and so we recognize it's not ideal, but we've dealt with it and provided the safety measures to make sure that our students are safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the staff on this? Okay, thank you. With that, we'll close the public portion and we'll bring it back to the commission for action. Anybody wish to make any comments?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
this application has weighed on me since the last time we heard it. One of the things I was thinking about before was compatibility, and that's what I talked about last time. However, thinking about schools and where they are located within our county, often they are located in residential areas. I had to think of some comparative instances, and so the best thing I could do is think of the church private school on Homosassa Trail. Okay, you got a 2-lane road, busy traffic. They have a school over there. So, I'm not as much concerned about compatibility anymore. Allison, I want to talk to you about the use and commercial. This is not considered commercial, and that's the thing. This is a school This is something that is allowed to be permitted with a conditional use in a residential area, just like a church. So it's not a business per se in the way that you would think about that it would be. So that being said, my final concerns on this application revolve around the parking and the fluid number of students that may or may not be attending. And also when I think about schools on other 2-lane roads that have busy traffic. Now, this is my neck of the woods, so I travel this road frequently. Right there, it's 55 miles per hour. It doesn't go down to 45 miles per hour until much closer to the intersection with 491. So if there were a condition where the school were to have to do the school zone, I would be more inclined to support the application.
Any other comments or questions?
I would just say that the staff report with the proposed conditions in the staff report, the project will meet the intent of the comprehensive plan and the land development code. And with the, relocating of the driveway access, I'm in favor of the application. I think that she's done a very good job in trying to make it as compatible with the area as possible. Like Ms. Worthington said, most schools are located in residential. I mean, my kids go to Crystal River, both middle school and high school, and that is 100% in a residential neighborhood. There's houses all over. The congestion in those areas is ridiculous. Trying to get kids in and out, this will be much less than that. I do understand Mr. Messer's thoughts on his access. I've utilized that landfill before, but he also has an east and a west turn lane into his property. So with that, I'm in favor of the application.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Excuse-
I guess got 2 comments. And just for general information, the school can't do a school zone. That has to be approved by the county because it's the school zone is really paid for by the county if there's enough traffic. And usually it's just for an elementary school unless you have a lot of kids that walk. And this school is a special needs school, so it's not going to have kids that walk.
Well, they have one on Massachusetts Trail.
Yeah, that's a whole different story. But the other thing is the fence going to be 5 feet tall? I mean, is it going to be a?
It's normally an 8-foot tall fence.
8 foot tall?
Yeah, but is it okay for me to speak back here? Or would you like me to come back?
I need to catch you on the mic, so if you could, please. Thank you.
On our other locations, it's 6 foot or 8 foot? They're 8 foot, right?
I think it's 6 foot.
6 foot, the metal fences, and I apologize, I'm not a chain link. Thank you.
6 foot's better,
yeah.
even better.
Yeah, so that we go with the higher fencing, and thank you. Any other questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that should be a condition, though, in the conditional use.
Yep. Commissioner Roy?
I just think that moving the driveway over to oppose the entrance to the landfill is creating an intersection where there was none. And while the school's heavier traffic is going to be at the beginning and the end of each school day, there's still going to overlap with the landfill with these tractor trailers coming in and out. And without an addition of some sort of traffic control, I think it's making a situation that isn't there now. And adding that to the fact that it's a school with buses and although I know they're not the big buses, but still, I think that it's not a good idea.
And just to respond quickly on page 4, there are engineering comments. Should the applicant want to have school zone sign improvements, they'd be required to comply with administrative regulation. It says for the installation of private traffic control devices for accredited private schools. I don't know that process. That's Public Works, but it does exist for private schools, so it is possible.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Facemeyer.
I supported this application when it was before us previously, and I support it again. I think the applicant has demonstrated good faith in reconfiguring the driveway, and one of the reasons I like to do site visits, I can visualize what this application is all about. While it's not ideal, I think it is appropriate, and I plan to support it.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah,
Yes, Commissioner Stone.
Mr. Chairman, I was against this at the first presentation primarily because it was in a low density residential area. But as Mr. Bramlett has noted, that it seems like most schools are located in residential areas. Thinking back on it, so I would support this.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I totally, I supported it last time, I support it this time. I think there is a need for special needs children. I think we've been neglecting a lot of the special needs by not giving them proper education, and I commend Ms. Griffin for doing this, and I can overlook the traffic and the lighting and the number of students for getting one kid an education that most people throw away that opportunity. So I support it.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Bramlett.
For the purpose of a motion, the Planning and Development Commission finds application number CU-21-13 consistent with the Citrus County Comprehensive Plan and the Citrus County Land Development Code, and that this board approves with conditions. And then we were going to add Mr. Dixon's suggested fencing condition with a minimum of a 6-foot chain link fence around the entire perimeter. The application based upon the evidence and testimony presented, and that the staff report and conclusions regarding this petition. It has been determined that approving the proposed conditional use will not adversely affect the public interest, that there is compliance with special rules governing individual conditional uses of the type involved, that the proposed development with conditions and safeguards attached would be generally compatible with adjacent properties and other property in the district, and that the PDC is empowered under the section of the LDC described in the application to grant this conditional use.
Second.
We have a first from Commissioner Bramlett and a second from Commissioner Facemart. Any additional comments? I have a couple that I'd like to look at. In the first condition, I have to agree with Commissioner Worthington. I think we should indicate maybe a maximum student population to go with this approval.
Yep, I have that condition ready. We could say the conditional use will allow for a private K-12 school up to 90 students.
Thank
And
you.
that would fix that. If that's the number.
Yep, that's fine. And then I think we need to address parking. The applicant did say that there are extra activities in the evening, and if 45 parents show up, we only have 20 parking spaces. I think we need to discuss that they have to provide something so that they do not have to come back for a special permit to address those conditions.
Correct. The Land Development Code allows overflow parking that's grass in a safe and non-eroded condition is the way it's worded. So she can show an overflow parking area in grass that's dedicated for when they need overflow parking. And that will meet it. That will not require her to come back before you or get a special use permit.
Okay. All right, awesome. So
we would have a condition then instead of, well, the additional parking may need to be installed. That's not in effect anymore, right? Condition number 5 would go away because we're on 90 and she's meeting that. Okay, all right. So number 5 would stay the same, and overflow parking shall be indicated on the site plan, something like that.
Okay, so just let's go over this. We're going to have a change to item number 1 in case the student population is 90.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to indicate on number 5 that there'll be overflow parking shown on the final site plan, and that we'll have a condition for a 6-foot chain link fence around the perimeter of the property.
Correct.
Correct. Okay, we have a first from Commissioner Bramlett and a second from Commissioner Facemeyer with the revisions. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
We have 6 in favor and 1 opposed. Thank you very much. Okay, moving forward. Okay, we have our applications and any additional items from?
Just some talk, if you don't mind. First of all, yesterday or Tuesday, I'm sorry, the days are going by fast. The Board of County Commissioners selected Timothy Gilbert as an alternate member. So we do have an alternate member now. He'll be inducted at your next meeting, although we won't actually be participating as a member at that time. So you do have that. We also did have them announce the two open positions. Mr. Facemeyer and Mr. Roy's positions are actually expiring. So they did announce that yesterday too. Your meetings coming up December 15th, you have 3 PUDs, very big PUDs. 2 of them are quite large in area and in intensity. Your first meeting in January, you also have 3 applications, and your second meeting in January, you have 2. So we're not seeing a slowdown in planning and zoning. I think building is seeing a slight one, but they're still very, very high. I did want to talk very briefly. We have our new county administrator. He started on Tuesday, so he's not here today, but we will ask him to come to address you maybe the next meeting or possibly in January. He is still very much getting his bearings here, Mr. Steve Howard, and but he certainly can come to address you and you have any questions at that point. We also had the 2 new commissioners start their first meeting on November 29th. A lot of different viewpoints than we've seen before. So if you did not see the meeting on Tuesday, I would kind of encourage you to see it. There were 4 applications from this board that recommended. They denied 2 of them and approved 2 of them. So they different comments than we've seen before. So I would encourage you to watch that if you haven't. That the two middle applications, the first and the fourth, were very straightforward. The second one was a PUD for mini storage on 491 for Mr. Stillwell that this board actually recommended approval for, and they did deny that one. And the third one the one they also denied was the multifamily by Magnolia Village on 486. That also was denied, and this board did go forward with the 4-3 recommendation and denial for that one. So if you haven't already, things have changed a bit. So feel free to watch that meeting. Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I did watch the meeting, and if you all will indulge me for just a moment, you know, a lot of times we have our applications and we jet, but, you know, I know we're about to get ready for the holiday hustle and bustle, but one thing that came up during that meeting was cross-access, and I wanted to bring about a discussion here today, just briefly, if we could talk about, because when you write laws, you write them, you know, generally for an overall outlook of what we'd like to see. And then on an individual basis, there might be somewhat aware a request for a deviation. A very valid concern was brought up with cross-access into church parking lots as far as safety is concerned. So I'm wondering if that's something this board should consider taking another look at, or asking the county commission to give us an opportunity to take another look at cross-access if there are exceptions to be made, or do we want to just continue with the as-needed type of situation where we hear them here and then we make a decision, they make a decision? Or do we want to look at the law again?
And to jump on that just a little bit, cross-access is in the comp plan, so there's not a deviation from it. You can't have one. And the county attorney did say that, but the board does what the board does. Early next quarter, we are working on some changes to your land development code. We're trying to clean up some of the land use tables. There's been a few things that have come up over the past year or so that we need to correct. We can certainly talk about cross-access access management. It won't be fixed right then because it's a comp plan issue that's going to take a little longer, but we can certainly discuss that. Agreed. There are some situations that's probably not appropriate. What we have in the code right now is if it's not possible because of topography, that's when you get a pass. Otherwise, no. So we'll see.
There's situations where it's going into a DRA or also.
Yes, those also are in there in the comp plan. Excuse me. Yes, topography, or yes, if it doesn't abut commercial, or it's up against a DRA, up against water, or something like that. Those are in there, but we don't have this use doesn't have to, and this use doesn't have to. So that's something we can take a look at and talk about when we talk about that land development code if you want to. That's what I'm scheduling. I'm hoping for early next quarter to have it ready for you, not January, but we'll get there.
And I would also recommend everyone watch that meeting too.
Should we have our popcorn with us?
Yeah. Yeah.
I watched the meeting. I watch them all.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, you poor thing.
I do, and I tape
I'm not going to watch them anymore.
If I'm busy, I tape.
I can't stand watching myself, so no, I don't do that.
But they're, yeah, you don't always get them live. You got to be up to date.
Yes.
You know? Yeah, but
These are on YouTube.
The planning meeting? Or
Plan-
the
ours-
commission meeting?
Theirs are on YouTube too, I think.
Are they?
Yeah.
I thought they just went to
Yeah.
the board agenda and clicked on video.
Yeah.
Both.
Because then you can go straight to the items. So you don't have to sit there from the 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock if you don't want to. And it'll jump on the item. You can click on it on the clerk's website and go right to it. So the first one,
The
second
only thing
one.
I would say is if you want us to watch that to try and like, you just want us to understand what they're thinking. Because
Yes.
what they think has no bearing on what I think.
It doesn't, other than you should be aware of what the commissioner's guidelines are. They made some very broad comments that we haven't had before, such as deviations are not appropriate in any time of the in any time from the land development code. That was one commissioner, but the others seem to be agreeing with that. So that's a big deal. We've not had that viewpoint before.
Then I think
The
that
whole
they should bring
reason
that
for
to
this
us. then.
process
They should,
is to
they should
have
tell us that.
deviations from
Right.
the land development.
Joanna, who's the local planning agency now? Is that still this
It's you
board?
guys, yep.
Because in some counties, it is the county commissioners.
Yeah, we don't. We have the plan. Thank goodness we have you guys to hash things out before it gets there.
You should say something else.
What I said was the whole reason that we have this process is for deviations in essence, because if the applicant was and for PUDs and things like that, but if the applicant was simply going to follow the land development code to the T, then they wouldn't.
They never get here.
necessarily Need to come here.
For
never get here.
variances, that's right. They wouldn't have it. But for land use changes, the compatibility, special exception, conditional use type things, it's a special use, but I also don't want to do this. And we've got some coming before you with some pretty big deviation requests. So, I'm not saying, oh, absolutely not. You have to take them case by case. But we haven't heard that from that dais before. So,
At one time, if you wanted to get a conditional use, you couldn't get a variance.
right. And you still can get a deviation, but yes, understood.
At one time, it was just the use. You had to meet all the code requirements. If you got the use, now you can get a variance inside of conditional use.
Interesting times.
Yeah, but anyway, absolutely great discussion. Please, you guys are the ones that tell us this stuff, okay? But I am planning on bringing some stuff before you, not the comp plan, but we can talk about cross access or anything else you want to discuss. Always open.
Since we're talking, the cross access, does anybody from engineering go around and
Last
look at the cross
That
access
was the last
points to see what the current status of them is? Just like,
No, like most of our divisions, and they did talk about that. They talked about having somebody from land development go out there and check landscaping to make sure it's maintained. We don't have people do that. Engineering does not have people to do that. Those staff cuts were many years ago.
there's one cross access that's down in Sugar Mill Woods, that's by Walgreens, and it literally 2 feet away from connecting. I mean, you go all the way down and you see the end of it, and they put it in just like they were supposed to, but it's literally 2 feet away, and it's got a curve on it, so you can't, stuff like that. I mean, it's
Connecting to Taco Bell and Verizon?
yeah, right back there, you drive down and then you just stop and you say, well, let that job. It's literally that far away.
We can certainly talk to engineering about that one, but they don't go out there and check them, just like they don't go out there and check berm and swale, which is a big deal here. And no,
Is that a reason to have a high clearance vehicle with four-wheel drive?
yeah, so you can keep going.
I guess you could.
That's
Any
all
other-
I had, sir. Sorry. Thank you.
Any other comments or thoughts? Seeing none, meeting's adjourned.